Do you bank online, pay at the pump, use public Wi-Fi? If so, your identity could be at risk. So help protect it with the best, LifeLock. Go to lifelock.com now and use promo code RISK to save 10%. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Hot News Talk 1240.
What am I wearing, Mike?
Shorts. It's February. You're wearing shorts.
I am hot.
Well,
it is hot in here.
Well, I don't know what you just got inside, so the car must be hot. You're wearing shorts. You must have had the heat up at the house.
It's like 27 degrees out.
Sauna or something.
I'm still hot. I was listening to the last half of David's show, and I think the heat in here is maybe frying his brain a little bit.
Well, you did. I noticed you didn't close the door.
No, because it's hot. We need to get circulation in here. And I hear you're hot on the trail. Listen, you're making some inroads here.
Well, we've been out working for the last 6 months. Yes, I mean every day, in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, weekends. Yes.
Do you like the idea of being elected or appointed? Do you like the judges elected or appointed?
Well, I like the fact that they're elected. I think an 8-year term is a good term. I like to be able to go out and talk to the voters, the people who live in this county. They can look at their candidates and make a choice.
Mike Little's running for a criminal court judge, and you get the opportunity to vote for him. This is a task we're asking the average person to engage in that really doesn't deal in law every day and the practice of law. So they're almost going in blind and just, picking someone whose name they may remember or like because, I could see them thinking, well, what's the difference? I mean, a judge is a judge. He's going to sit there and hear both sides and then make a decision.
Well, you're right. It's not easy to get people excited about voting for a judge. We're not out making promises that we're going to clean your sewer system out or we're going to lower your taxes. It's not a legislative spot. So we have to go out and tell people about our experience.
How many cases have you fought?
Oh, I've handled over 4,000 cases.
In how many years?
18.
Character is important, I think, when it comes to being a judge. And I can interview for you from the perspective of being in front of judges, federal, state, and local judges. As a patriot and a constitutionalist, I fought individual constitutional issues on crazy things like having the right to travel without a driver's license and won. Issues like the money issue, whereby the state's trying to take your money. And I argue only gold and silver coin is lawful to take in the state. So I've been before, and speeding tickets, to be honest with you. So as far as I'm concerned, having the right judge in there is extremely important. And having a judge that's willing to listen is important. And I'm going to give an example. And I've known Mike for some time. And I don't let anybody loose or I don't give anybody a ride. I mean, if you're my brother or my father or whomever, I'm going to grill them on and off the air. Mike, you know that.
I know that.
Mike walks away from my conversations after about an hour. I got to go.
Saba, that's enough. I can't take any more.
But there was one case, and I'm going to tell you listening how important this is because you're a smart person. If you weren't smart, you'd be listening to the other talk station that's going down the toilet or some goofy country station. But you're listening because you're smart and you want to know. And I'm just going to tell you from personal experience, having the right person in there is important, which means a person of a particular character that's willing to listen, have an open mind. I've been in courtroom where judges go, "You're not going to talk. This is my courtroom. Another word out of you, you're going to jail." And I've been to other courtrooms where the judge is nodding his head and said, "Tell me more." I'll give you an example. In the fascist police state of New Jersey in the 80s, I took in dogs because there'd be strays all over the place. And I built a fence, I had 5 acres, and adopted them out on my own money. And one day I get a knock on the door. Didn't answer it because I was up like 27 hours. But, after I went to work and came back, I noticed something on the door. unlicensed dogs. I probably had 15 in the back and 5 of my own. I love Pomeranians, so I mean little dogs, little Pomapoos, little ankle biters. And I took it to court. And in the fascist police state of New Jersey, you can do the evidentiary hearing prior to the little hearing. I had like 15 unlicensed dogs. So everybody went before me. How do you plead? I plead guilty. Okay, $25. How do you plead? Oh, I plead guilty too. Because all the system wants is the obedience. They want us to be the dogs. Just obey. Guilty or not guilty? Guilty. Okay, so he comes to me, and I think I'm going to be shish kebab, but to me, going to court is better than a day at the movies. So the big burly judge goes, how do you plead? And I said, I stand mute on the plea, challenge the jurisdiction of the court. I always do that so they can show jurisdiction. And I want an evidentiary hearing to determine the validity of the evidence. He says, well, the court has jurisdiction because he showed me where they had jurisdiction of subject matter. And he had in personam jurisdiction because I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. This guy actually knows his stuff. So we had she got on the witness stand, and I said, where was your warrant?
We don't need a warrant. In the state of New Jersey, during the summertime, we just go around and we see if the dogs are unlicensed. And
so no. You don't come on my property. Where's your affidavit of probable cause? Where's your search warrant? We don't have one. I said, they suspended the Constitution of New Jersey, Your Honor. That's great. When did they do that? When did they suspend the New Jersey Constitution and the federal Constitution? They didn't. He said, young lady, you didn't have a warrant? He knew that. She said, well, no, Your Honor. He goes, you better have a warrant if you come on my property. They just passed the law licensing cats. What are we going to do about the rat population? Dismissed. Whoa.
Your day in court.
No, the judge was looking for someone to make the right argument. He couldn't do it. He was freaked out that they're licensing cats now. And he knew it was just a money-making scheme. But as a judge, he can't, like you said, he was waiting for someone to make the argument.
But what you're pointing out is the judge was independent. He was fair, impartial, independent. He listened to both sides and made a rule applicable to the law.
A rule applicable to the law, right. Because there was no. But who's going to bother for $25? Pay the fine and move on. But it's the principle that's important, because if you lose the principle, you're on the slippery slope and right down. But there's an example where this guy would be a great jurist, maybe even a great Supreme Court jurist, which our first ones weren't even attorneys, because he's willing to listen to both sides, make an independent, objective decision. Will you and could you do that?
Yes, that's what I've been saying all along. That's actually the words that come out of the judicial code: fair, impartial, and independent. When a lawyer a lawyer is always these days who will take the bench. A lawyer takes off his hat, whether he's a prosecutor or a defense attorney. He takes off that hat, and he's no longer an advocate for either side, and he becomes independent, impartial, and fair, and he listens to both sides, and he has to do it with patience.
You hope he does that.
Well, that's what I'll do.
But I can tell you, most instances that I've seen, they don't do that in political cases. Anything that isn't a real crime. That I've seen the opposite, especially when it comes to arguing with the police. I had one case where, a lawyer told me, you're going to lose. I said, why? He said, because you don't have a uniform. Like, what do you mean? Well, they're going to testify in a uniform, the police, and they're going to believe them. I said, well, what uniform do I have to buy for them to believe me? Do I have to wear in my naval garb or Air Force? What am I going to wear? And all too often, be honest, Mike, isn't that the case where if the police testify, they get more weight? Typically, you're a defense attorney, more weight than the other guy.
Well, that's an interesting question, because anytime that we have during jury selection, and I've tried over 50 jury trials, this is a question, and most of the jury trials that I've tried have always involved law enforcement. And so we ask the jurors in the jury selection, and they've been sworn to answer truthfully the questions they've been asked. And one of those questions is, will you because the witness is a law enforcement officer, will you tend to give him more weight than you would a normal witness, if you will? And we always ask the jurors that, because just because they are a police officer doesn't mean they have any additional weight. Now, that doesn't mean we're expecting a police officer to get on the stand and say anything false, but this juror should not give that witness any more weight than they would any other witness.
Do you believe they do? Do you believe they are, for the most part, objective, or they'll give the state?
I have observed over 50 jury trials, and I have been the lead attorney in 50 jury trials myself in state and federal court. And I have to say that I have always agreed with the decision of the jury, with the exception of one case. And I can't remember what that case was, but it was a close call. And I felt that there was probably reasonable doubt. But I have to say that in my experience, I'm not saying that's the experience of everyone, but in my experience, because the trials that I was involved in, I felt that I did what I was supposed to do, make sure that my clients' rights were protected. And because of that, I've really never been deeply concerned about a verdict that I've seen. The juries in this community work hard, listen to the evidence, and apply the law as the judge gives it to them.
I think Tennessee must be different than other places because I see it in almost everything, living in a lot of other parts of the country, especially the Northeast, which I think is totally corrupt. But even Tennessee government is somewhat different, where EPB provides the best service in their government. And I have not been able to figure that out other than the fact that it's the people that makes the difference. So in that, I would nod my head and say, I believe you, Mike, because the people of Tennessee are different. But in other states, I don't see it like that. I always tell people, if you argue the facts, you're going to lose because the system always lies. I covered trials and they always lie. I don't think I've ever covered a trial where the system hasn't lied, even when I've been involved. And it seems like the only way to win is arguing the law. And let's just quickly break that down, the difference without trying to bore people. The facts are what occurred, which the jury can decide on the facts. If the facts support what the law says, then they must find guilty or innocent, correct?
Right. Well, the jury, they are the trier of facts.
Right.
They're the sole judges of the facts, and the law is the judge gives it to them.
Right. And even though we understand jury lawlessness and jury nullification, and if the jury doesn't like it, they can throw it out. Typically, they don't unless it's an extreme case. For the most part, you can't argue, you, the individual, can't argue the law in front of the jury. The judge will not allow that. You can't.
No, I can only point it out and how it applies to a case.
Right. And I'm going to give you an example, like in a federal case, Title 26, I don't see anything in there that requires any individual to file a return. But you can be charged with willful failure to file an income taxes. And they have to show that you knew you were obligated to file and refused to do so, but there's no law compelling you to do it. So one can't bring that up to the jury and go, wait a second, there's no law saying I got to do it. All that happens is all they have to do is prove that you believe you were required to file and you willfully failed to do so. That's willful failure to file. And the judge won't let that evidence in. Right. Is that not crooked?
Well, I don't know. I don't do that. I've never prosecuted or defended any type of tax cases by the federal government. Most of my cases were drug cases and federal firearms cases.
But I mean, can you see the whole scenario there and go, come on, that it's a scam?
Well, if you're arguing a law that doesn't apply in the case, then I can see how a judge can keep that out. If you're indicted under a specific law, the burden of the government is to prove every element of that law that you're charged under.
They don't. All they have to do is prove that you didn't do something and you knew you were required to do it. How crazy is that?
In my case, I've never been involved in a case where an indictment was brought and they argued some other law. Okay, the government has to proceed on the document or the indictment that's been filed. That's the only thing.
Oh, they will, Mike.
Because that's the due process.
You will, Michael. You knew you were required to file, and you didn't do it. That's the law we charged you under. But we didn't present the law that required you to do it. We just. You understand? You understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Okay,
but it's a different approach. I guess what your thinking is that, and I know what you're saying. There's no law that says you have to file. I don't know that because I've not done any tax work, but.
If you can find it, come back on.
Of course, you have every right to disagree with that and to protest.
But you can't argue it in front of the jury, and the judge is going to find for the state. There's no way the judge is going to say you were right. You don't have. Come on, his career would be.
For the government in that case, it'd be the United States government because you wouldn't find a case like that in state court.
No, it'd be the government. Right. It'd be the federal government. The government. The guys that have that big, fancy, expensive building in downtown will be doing it. The government will be doing it. And I ask you these questions as part of your character as somebody that's going to sit as a judge. How objective can you be? How open-minded can you be? Mike Little as the dad with how many kids?
Three. Two are grown out of the house, and we have a 13-year-old daughter at home.
Mike Little, the believer who believes in God, who believes in a supreme being, who believes in being held accountable. How important is that in an individual that it seems like one cannot take an oath without the belief in the supreme being, because to take that oath, you must be held accountable to a supreme being. It's not a matter of, being charged with perjury. How important is it for that individual running for that office to be able to rest their head at night knowing that justice was served, which means if somebody puts a gun in my side and steals my money, that you, Mike Little, after the jury finds them guilty, and believing that the verdict doesn't have to be, what's that called when they throw it out?
Dismissal or
dismissed or
judgment of acquittal,
set aside, or the judgment set aside. That you're going to make sure this guy goes to jail or this woman goes to jail. And on the other hand, if you see something that you believe is not lawful or that is trying to stretch the law, that you as a moral person can rest your head at night saying, I did the right thing today.
Right. Well, I have a spiritual belief, and in this country, thank goodness, we all have we can worship and serve our Maker the way we want to. And I'm a Christian. I follow the word of Jesus Christ. I think that that sets my personal conscience and the way I live my life. It rules the way I live my life. The way I really don't want to be known as a great attorney or a wonderful judge. I really want to be known as a father and a husband. I think that's the most important thing to me when my time is done here. But while I'm here, I do want to walk in the right path, and if I can be a service to the community and give back what I've gotten from Hamilton County for the last 25 years, I'd like to be a part of that. I think a moral conscience is important, and I've always have taught my children to your name and your integrity is the one thing that nobody can take away from you except yourself.
I look at what you've been doing over the past 18 years now.
Yes. I've worked in criminal court for 25 years, but I've been practicing lawyer for 18.
And the police officer in the street is, why do you beat yourself up every day? And that's to say that defense attorneys typically don't make a lot of money unless they're high profile cases. A lot of times you're not going to talk about it. You get stiffed. And Mike's never told me this. I just know it by being around it. You get stiffed from clients because a lot of times clients don't have the money.
Well, we don't. I definitely, my major in college was accounting, and then after I got my law degree, I probably should have been a tax attorney because the way to make millions is to serve and cater to the wealthy, and the path I chose in representing those who are accused of crimes is not catering to the wealthy. And that doesn't mean there are some exceptions. That should just scare people that accused of crimes, because you listening, I can tell you this: you cannot leave your house and come back even within an hour and not have broken a law. You break laws the second you leave your house to the time you get home. There is some law you're breaking, because that's because we don't live in a free country. A free country would denote lack of statutes and codified law, that we just have common law, court decisions, and dealing with property rights. But since you are a slave and I'm a slave, and that you could be charged with something the second you walk out your door, you will eventually be charged with something. You will eventually get a ticket. And even if it's a parking ticket, that's a criminal offense. You will eventually, one time in your life, appear in a courtroom. And I love it, Mike, when these high and mighty people go, we don't need to discuss the law and rights, and you're a right-wing nut, and the government this or that. Then I get a phone call saying, I can't believe I was driving home, and I had my gun under my seat, and I was licensed, but I crossed the state line into New Jersey, and now I'm in jail. What? What? What's the big deal? Well, don't I have a right to bear arms? No! The government doesn't think you have a right to bear arms. They want to regulate and license it. You're in jail now. What's the big deal? In the 70s, when they passed this stupid law that everyone had to have car insurance, I'm screaming on the radio, are you crazy? 99% of the nut listening to me were for compulsion of auto insurance. Yes, you realize eventually one day you're going to be compelled to have personal insurance, and it's going to be enforced by the IRS? And they thought I was nuts. Well, how's that? What if I walk out of a grocery store and you knock me over? Are you insured to protect me because my head's busted open? Well, listen, for the public well-being, the public good, you need to have personal insurance.
Oh, that'll never happen. Okay. Now you'll answer to the IRS as to whether or not you have health insurance. So my point to you is you're a legal person, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, you are a legal person. So this is important. The most important decision you can make this year is not for the president, because nothing really changes there. Trump, Rubio, Marco, Cruz, whoever it is, just change the face. The system grinds on. The most important decision you can make this year is choosing your criminal court judge. That is the most important decision you can make, because that guy is the gatekeeper. He can stop tyranny right then and there. He could stop it on a dime. He's the guy that says, wait a second, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. You bring a case before me again that compels this guy to get a permission to have a gun or to speak, you're going to jail, Mr. Prosecutor. I'm going to hold you in contempt. Oh, really? You searched his trunk without a warrant? You searched his phone without a warrant? You violated his individual rights. Those who are willing to sacrifice their liberty for freedom deserve neither. I believe Franklin said that. So the criminal court judge who understands the system is the most important person in your life as the police officer on the street, because the second he stops you and you disrespect him, he can take away your freedom. And the second you appear before that judge, even for a parking ticket that you didn't pay, he could take away your freedom.
Well, what I know and what I realize is that there are constitutional rights for both victims and the accused. And I think that's I go back to my earlier saying, Sab, is that we have the person who takes this bench has to understand and I want to repeat myself, has to be fair, impartial, independent. That's what we always have to go back to, because the judge has to listen to both sides. And so in this position, we will listen to facts that are outside the presence of a jury, and we can make our rulings according to the law. And we can also listen to constitutional violations. Now, those constitutional violations are going to be defended by the state, and they have rights too. So I realize that, and I will realize that as a judge. So I have to. That's why it is important that I'm impartial and independent and listen to both sides. And that's all you can ask of a judge, and that has to be independent. I don't want to use this.
Not all. That's so important.
Well, I don't want to use this spot to be political.
No, I'm not asking you to do that. But the most important thing you could do is be impartial.
Yes.
Because the great thing about our constitutional republic, and this is unique in the world, is we're adversarial. The cool thing about our constitutional republic is you have to claim your rights to have them. That's what's the great thing about it, that you could say no, 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 no. You can't come in and search. And the second you say yes, you voluntarily waived your Fifth Amendment right. Or your right to search and seizure. So what's great about our republic is that one side takes this position, that's one attorney, or the state, you take this position, and then you battle it. It's a battle of wits. And then you have a document called the Constitution or statutes to argue underneath. And then the impartial referee at the boxing match goes, whoa, you just hit him below the belt. Stop. Give him 8 seconds. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's important that, if you don't have the right referee, the game can be thrown. And in our constitutional republic, the most important thing we can have is the correct referee.
I agree. And and I know that I can be that correct referee because of my experience. I've been there. I've been in as you describe it, the battle. I have worked in preliminary hearings at the lower levels, hundreds of them. I've taken them through the grand jury. I've tried them at the trial level, which is the position I'm running for. And I've also gone to the appellate courts, and I've made arguments in the Court of Criminal Appeals, Tennessee Supreme Court, even the Sixth Circuit District in Cincinnati on the federal level. So I've gone through all levels in criminal cases. And that is what equips me with the knowledge in order to be fair, independent, and impartial.
We have a lot of killings taking place in Chattanooga. Over 200 gangs that the city government will not admit to, but there are over 200 gangs in the city, and we have almost it seems like a killing a day through these gang members. Do you see that you can make an impact when they're found guilty? When someone comes before you for shooting a 9-year-old, or there's a stray bullet, and all of a sudden this 18-year-old comes before you and they're found guilty of pulling the trigger.
Yeah, the key word there is found guilty. Once someone is found guilty in criminal court, or in my court, if I'm fortunate to be elected, is that I will handle the sentencing in that case. And you listen to both sides as far as mitigating enhancement factors in a sentencing hearing. But the judge has to follow the law, and it's all codified, as you said earlier. It's by statute. It's passed by the legislature, and signed by the governor. So those two branches of government take part in establishing our laws that the courts have to follow. Yes, in any serious violent offender cases, I will look at the law and I will be firm.
Are you bound by the supremacy clause?
We all are. I mean, it's the Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
Because the Constitution says so.
Yes,
it says the lower courts will obey the higher. So, right. and it's very important that especially patriots understand that when a lower court judge makes a decision based on the Supreme Court, he took an oath to obey that. He's bound by that, but it doesn't mean the issue can't be revisited in a different way.
Right. Any party, either side, in any case for that matter, can raise a constitutional issue, and it can be defended by the other side, and then the court has to listen to the facts, read the law, and apply his reasoning, and but not create new law, but simply interpret the law if there's some ambiguity sometimes in the statute. And that often happens in criminal court or trial court.
And this is interesting because you did not create new law, which is the difference between, I hate to use the term liberal and conservative, but liberals and conservative that believe the Constitution is a living thing. The liberals do, and that judges create new law, which they're not allowed to. Only the legislature can create law. But law is affected by their decisions. I think that's what they mean when they say create new law. But you're of the opinion that it is not the judge's, it should not be the judge's position or power to create new law. And the example would be busing back in the 70s, where it was brought before the court that there was an inequity, that blacks and whites were being treated differently. And for equity purposes, we need to take white kids and put them in black schools, black kids put them in white schools, and we're going to use buses to do that. And they did that in Philadelphia. That would be called judicial activism. Even though there was no law passed, there was no statute saying that this needs to be done. The courts took it upon themselves based on equity, equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment, and enacted something and imposed something over and above what the legislature created or didn't create.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that particular case because it's not in my realm. I have studied the case, and my belief is that the argument is that that court interpreted the law. There may be other people have different opinions about that. But my point is that as a judge, again, being impartial, independent, it's not the function of the judge to create law. It's simply that. And I agree with you on the fact about your discussion about, or your comment about the Constitution. It is not a living document, and it's a written document. And I believe that originalism is how you approach the Constitution, what the text meant on the day that it was written. That was a big belief of Scalia, who we just lost on the Tennessee Supreme
Court.
A great man, great judge,
great jurist.
I've read a lot of his opinions, especially his dissents, and we've lost a good conservative voice on the bench. And I'm afraid, and I saw the term the other day that we're probably going to have what is called an epic diversion in the next months, if not year to come.
Well, it's going to be hard to replace somebody with a Scalia, and that's because of the era he was brought up in. And just due to the fact that, kids are not taught what they were taught years ago, especially in law school. And nothing drives me crazier than when a lawyer says that the Constitution needs to be interpreted. It's not. It's a document that's firm, stable. It's a constitution. It's a foundation. And statutes are put up against it unless there's a major federal question or something else that could shake the foundation of the republic. The court's not going to hear it. And then they're first going to look at the statute to see if any of it can be saved. Does it meet constitutional scrutiny? And if some of it can be saved, they'll save it. If none of it can be saved, they'll strike the entire statute. So the Constitution never has to be interpreted. It would be void for vagueness if it did. And I'm asking you some questions that don't even apply to criminal court judge, because I see maybe you may be a federal judge someday. Federal, but you don't know.
No, those are not my aspirations.
But hey, you just never know.
Wait, no, you don't.
Never know.
But I'm this is the one position that I think the timing has been right for me. It's something that I feel like I've trained for the last 25 years for. It's in Hamilton County. It's in an area that I know real well. And I think when someone runs or even seeks position or a job, that they should have some experience in that field and to be able to do the right job.
Mike Little's running for criminal court judge. He's been an attorney for 25 years, practicing on his own
18
for 18 years, but you've been an attorney for 25.
I've been working in criminal court for 25 years, but I've been practicing law for 18. I worked for 3 judges when I was in law school and in criminal court. It's actually the criminal court that I'm running for in Division 2. I worked for Judge DeRizio, Judge Gerberts, and Judge Stern before I went off on my own.
Why did you decide not to take the other side and become a prosecutor?
Well, it's not that I chose not to. It's a good question that you asked me, Sam, because a few years into private practice, well, I never wanted to go to work for a law firm. That was the decision I made early on. I wanted to work for myself. That was just what I wanted to do. I didn't go to law school until I was 30, and I had been in private business for the first decade of my adult life.
So you were a real person before becoming an attorney.
That's right. That's right.
Which I think is not only very noble of you to enter a position of esquire after being a real person, and now I was actually working in the private sector. I was in management in the hotel industry, and I actually managed several hotels in town. Wood Reed House is one of them. It was at a young age, and I had a fun time doing that. But I didn't want to leave Chattanooga in order to do well and progress in the hotel industry. I had to leave town. But why did you want to become an attorney? Why? Because you were in the service industry, so evidently you like to serve. As a defense attorneys typically like to serve.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's an easy question because when I worked in the hotel business in the 80s. It was before the aquarium was built and the downtown was suppressed. The market was suppressed. The hotels any of the hotels downtown suffered financially, and so I was involved in several bankruptcies, and I got to talk and deal with attorneys, and I found their job fascinating, and so that's what led me. Introduced me to law and led me to want to become a lawyer.
Talking to Mike Little, he's running for criminal court judge. The most important decision you can make this year as far as the election is concerned is voting for the proper criminal court judge to obtain justice here in the Chattanooga area. Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. You can watch us live and watch Mike live right now at YouTube, at Twitter, hotnewstalkradio.com. We're just live all over the world. Hello to our Chinese listeners. We have many, and our listeners in the former Soviet Union. Hot News Talk Radio will have more questions for Mike after these.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply?
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a big orange fan, they've got an orange one. All the women are loving the pink one and Tiffany blue. Plus, it has a lifetime warranty replacement. If the gun is stolen, all you need is your police report or receipt, and they'll replace it free. It has a 60-day full money-back guarantee. That's Carter Shooting Supply. They're in Harrison right there at 6210 Highway 58.
Are they online?
Yes, they are. That's cartershootingsupply.com, or give them a call, 423-344-1099. Now, this sale's not going to last too long, so you need to hurry up and get there. And they do have a great indoor shooting facility. You can get your Tennessee handgun carry permit also. That's Carter Shooting Supply, 423-344-1099.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at SabrinaRealty.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operation of the court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little. Barry Abbott, Treasurer.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Police and fire investigators are still trying to track down who firebombed two houses in what police believe may be a gang-related attack. The first attack happened when an incendiary device was thrown at a house. It bounced off of a window and exploded in the yard, causing only about $100 worth of damage. The second went through a window, causing an explosion inside and about $1,000 worth of damage. Nobody was hurt. Fire investigators believe that both attacks are gang-related. 32-year-old Jacob Santana was arrested on Wednesday after his girlfriend says that he assaulted her. The victim said that she'd been trying to kick him out for 2 days. She said that he became violent with her and on the day of the assault hit her many times in the head and choked her and pushed her under the bed. Responding officers said they witnessed wounds on the victim. Santana left before the police could get there. He was arrested 2 days later. The Tennessee Board of Education is set to make a formal disciplinary policy in order to prevent inconsistent punishments from being handed down. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect more sunshine out there through the afternoon. Not as breezy, still cool though. Highs upper 40s to near 50. Tonight, fair, cold overnight, lows near 30. After a frosty start though, lots of sunshine, a great looking weekend. Highs tomorrow, mid and upper 50s near 65 Sunday. Do you bank online, pay at the pump, use public Wi-Fi? If so, your identity could be at risk. So help protect it with the best, LifeLock. Go to lifelock.com now and use promo code RISK to save 10%. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, go, go,
go, go, go, go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Yeah, we will, baby.
News Talk 1240.
This is not binary. This is hit me with your best shot. Where you get to call and yell at me for my tweets over the past week. But not today. Today we're talking to Mike Little, running for criminal court judge. MikeLittleJudge.com. Vote MikeLittleJudge.com. What is it? Vote MikeLittleJudge.com. Running for the most important position in Chattanooga in this election cycle. Not the president of the United States. That's not the most important thing. I'm not being crazy here. Really, how much has your life changed between, I don't know, Reagan and this nut job we have as president now? This guy born overseas doesn't even qualify. How little has it changed? It just changed the faces. The bureaucracy keeps rolling and the cancer keeps rolling. Other than the fact that they may try to send your son or daughter overseas to get murdered because they want to make more money, basically you just interchange the faces. What's important is what you can touch locally, and that is your local judge. your local representative, your local person that is in front of you, that's in personam, that you can scream at, praise, challenge. And this is why it's so important to have the right judge, the right criminal court judge. Mike Little is running for a criminal court judge. Vote MikeLittleJudge.com. Mike, we were just talking about this off air. Experience. How important is experience, and how do you define yourself from your competitor?
Well, you asked that question. Like I said, I've got 20, as I said earlier in the earlier statement, I've got 25 years of criminal court experience, and that includes 50 jury trials in state and federal court. I've handled over 4,000 cases. I've handled pretrial hearings having to do with suppression issues, relevance, the rules of evidence, sentencing. I've had sentencing hearings. I've had preliminary hearings in the General Sessions Court, which is the preliminary level when someone is accused of a crime. And I've dealt with all the rules of criminal court and the appellate rules as well. So, when someone comes into the courtroom, whether you're a defendant or a witness or a victim in a case, or you're law enforcement, or a lawyer, whoever is on the bench, the judge, I think it's important for that individual to have that kind of experience in his background. And that's what I have. I've got, that's what sets me apart from my opponents. It's my 25 years of criminal court experience. I guess you could say that I would never say that I've seen it all, because the minute I say that, I'll see something new tomorrow. But for the most part, I've seen most of everything there is to be seen in criminal court.
One of the most important things before you go to trial is the evidentiary hearing, determining what evidence goes in, what evidence stays out, so on and so forth. And that is also part of your job title as judge, would it not be?
Yes, you make rulings on motions or on motions made by either side in a case. You look at, sometimes there may be an issue about, well, is this relevant? Is this evidence admissible under the rules, Tennessee rules of evidence? Or a sentencing hearing, when the state may put on evidence regarding enhancement factors in sentencing, or the defendants or the accused may want to put on information about mitigating factors that would tend to lower its sentence. A judge has to listen to that and apply the law and make the ruling. I've been involved in all those kind of hearings. I've been there. I've done it as a litigant.
Is it true that the judge will determine the innocence or guilt of an individual based on the evidence they allow in?
No. The judge does not determine guilt or innocence of a defendant.
He could, though, without a jury. You mean ask for a judge trial?
There are times when a defendant can waive his right to a jury trial and what we call a bench trial, and then the judge can make then he becomes the trier of fact as well as the trial law. So that is possible, but
if you don't allow certain evidence in, you can actually, the jury's not going to hear it. So isn't it important to have somebody in there that understands and has all the experiences of the court system to make sure that if evidence needs to be in, it gets in, and evidence that doesn't need to be in is not in? It's totally irrelevant.
Yes, I have stood in many cases and argued the law regarding admissibility under the Tennessee rules of evidence and hearsay. What is relevant? Does it come in? Is it something that's been authenticated? Is it the actual direct evidence? Those are just issues that come up that I have been involved in for the last 18 years of my career.
Has your opponent
I've dealt with? I didn't meet one of my opponents, which was Mr. Tom Greenhost. I didn't meet him. I didn't meet him until because there's two opponents. There's three of us in the race. I want to make sure I'm clear. And that was even though I've met him, I didn't meet him until he was appointed by the governor. But he's not been a lead attorney in a jury trial, and has hardly done any state criminal practice.
And you've had, and let's make this clear. You have done what, 50 jury trials?
I've tried 50 jury trials.
50 jury trials.
I've been the lead attorney in 50 jury trials in state and federal court. Plus, I've observed before I even became a lawyer, when I worked in criminal court, over 50 jury trials just while watching them.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, your opponents have nowhere near that kind of experience, especially prosecutors who hate to go to trial. They want to settle.
Well, now there is one opponent in the race. He Boyd Patterson. He's the other opponent in the race. Now, he's tried cases, but he's not been practicing law as long as I have.
I know most people hate this. Most people running for office and most attorneys hate this, but I would be remiss in not bringing it up. And I touched on it earlier, but allowing individuals to just talk about the law in front of the jury, and tell the jury, if you think that what I'm being charged with is not fair, is illegal and unconstitutional, no matter what the judge says, you need to find me not guilty. What's wrong with that? Why do lawyers? Why do they hate that? Why do they shy away? They even shy away from the question. I mean, judges have threatened to throw people in jail for talking about jury nullification or jury lawlessness. Is it because the system wants to maintain the ultimate power? I know Mike carries a pocket constitution around, by the way. Pull that out. We love this about you.
Know that? Did I tell you that? Yeah, I carry. I've got it right here.
Look at that.
And it's a little worn, but I have backups at home. And whenever you go to places sometimes, and these pocket constitutions are given out. People just give them out, and I always collect them because I'll misplace it or put it somewhere else. Or the other morning I was taking my daughter to school. And she asked me about the Bill of Rights, and I pulled it out of my pocket.
But those founders that say we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, so on and so forth, establish justice, blessings of liberty, establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The people said, this is ours. This is ours. We're establishing this document of limited powers for you guys. Now, here's the rules. Got to live under them. And the founders wanted to ultimately make sure that the jury had the final say over an omnipotent government. They didn't particularly like lawyers. They certainly didn't like kings and queens and central authority. This was done because it almost had to be because of the Articles of Confederation. But this was given to the federal government by we the people. Have they kept it? I'm going to go back to my initial question. Why? Why do you believe they fear that so much? The idea that I can say, jury, the law I've been charged unto is illegal, unconstitutional, no matter what these people say. And if your conscience tells you that, you must find me not guilty.
Well, the proper way to challenge the law is pre-trial.
Well, why can't I say that?
You can. You can.
I'll be thrown in jail.
You cannot do it in front of a jury.
Why?
Because the jury is not. That's not for them. That's not in their preview. What they are looking
does the Constitution prohibit it?
Looking at the guilt and innocent phase. Well, it's just no, it's the law.
Of course not. It's the law. So here we go again. I don't like the law.
Well, we have to follow the law. So we have to follow the law because we live in a civil society.
We have to follow the law that makes the law, that challenges the law, that judges the law.
We have the Constitution. That's the law. So and the Constitution allows us to set up our state governments and to have our laws in state courts as well.
Right. But then my First Amendment gets shunned in court, right?
Yeah, well, if you want to challenge any law, you can do it. But you have to do it pre-trial.
But the system's not going to allow that.
No, I've seen it successfully done.
Really?
Yes, it's rare. I've been involved in it myself. I've never actually been successful in challenging a constitutional law. A statute. I did raise it in one case. But the case settled, so I couldn't pursue it. And then later on, that statute was somewhat changed. But I can't remember what it was.
Yes or no questions.
Okay.
The federal government is a tyranny on the American people.
It can be at times, but as a whole, no.
Okay, you really are an attorney because you didn't say yes.
Well, I think our founding fathers saw that this could happen, and especially with big government.
Constitution is a document of limited powers.
The Constitution is yes.
Okay. Any individual elected and or hired to oversee and perpetuate the growth of the fascist, Marxist, socialist, communist welfare state, from the dog catcher to the president, that take an oath are bound by the Constitution.
If you take an oath, yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So the clerk in Kentucky that took an oath was bound not to issue marriage licenses, and the federal judge overstepped their boundaries.
Well, now you asked me to comment on a law, and so as a judicial candidate, I have to be careful about.
There was no law. There was no law.
I have to be careful about.
Right, but there was no law. The federal court, the Supreme Court, made a decision based on there being no law.
Well, see the reason. I'm ethically bound to be careful about how I answer questions about the law as a judicial candidate. It's just say that type of case comes before me. So I can't be predisposed when I'm and make an answer to that kind of question.
Well, you just answered it, which is that's why I asked you.
I answered another question.
No, you just answered it. Is that you're going to be impartial?
Trouble with the Board of Professional Responsibilities way out here. No, I'm just kidding.
But you just answered it by saying, I'm going to be responsible. I took an oath. This is my obligation, and I'm going to fulfill it. So I couldn't rattle you, which is interesting. And isn't
I have to listen. One thing I've learned being a lawyer is to listen. Can you imagine sitting at a jury, at a counsel table during trial, and you have 12 jurors in the box? And that's what we always call them in the box. I know the jurors may not respect that, but we always that's this terminology we use in the shop is in the box. And then you have a witness on the stand, and then you have your opposing lawyer talking, and you have to listen to all that. And you have to listen. So I've been trained to listen to every word that comes out of every mouth in court.
What makes you a patient person?
Well, that's my nature. I'm patient. I've always been patient. I've been told I have good people skills and good listening skills, and I think that's a good quality. That's just part of my life experience. When I was in private industry before I became a lawyer, I used to manage and hire and train hundreds of employees.
Do you like people?
Oh, I love people. The people are great.
What do you think of the individuals that will come before you when you are a criminal court judge that have committed nonviolent crimes? In your head, what are you saying to yourself when you're sitting? I'm asking you to put yourself there. And it's an 18-year-old boy who broke into a shed to steal something to satisfy his habit. What is going through your head?
Well, my hope is that it goes through my head now. My hope is that that individual has learned from this, and doesn't and realized the inconvenience that he's brought on himself, the money that maybe his parents has spent on helping him through the legal process, the cost the emotional cost he's raised from his family and his friends and his children if he's old enough.
But Your Honor, I was with my buddy, and he challenged me to do it, and I did it, and I used the money for drugs, and that's all I got to say about it before you sentence me. What do you tell me what you're saying to him?
Well, you apply the law.
Tell me, I'm the young man.
You apply the law. Well,
talk to me.
I hope that you have learned from this experience not to come back. That's our hope. Is that the society has laws, and you cannot violate these laws. There's reasons for them, whether you agree with them or not. They are against the law, and you have come to this court. You've accepted responsibility. Hopefully, this can change your life.
Well, Your Honor, are you just going to send me back out into the woods again to do it again? In other words, what's the recidivism rate?
If he says that during sentencing, he probably won't get probation.
That
is an example or someone showing that they really are not concerned about rehabilitation.
And I said that because won't his attorney tell him to shut up, say as little as possible, or don't talk at all?
Well, if he takes a stand in his own,
no, he's not taking a stand. This is sentencing. How do you, Mike Little, get out of him what he's really thinking in order to impose the proper sentence? Knowing, here's where your experience comes in as a defense attorney, knowing his attorney said, say as little bit as possible or shut up.
Well, if he chooses not to testify, the judge can't make him testify.
Okay. But I'm saying during the sentencing hearing, doesn't he have something to say?
Well, he can testify.
He can, okay.
You take oath, take the witness stand, testify. Right. But if he testifies, then he subjects himself to cross-examination.
Okay.
And so if the other side gets out the type of sayings that you're alluding to, then that's the whole purpose of cross-examination.
How can you as a judge, knowing, being on the other side as a defense attorney, wanting to know really what he thinks before you impose sentence, are there any tricks or techniques you can use to get that information so you can impose the proper sentence?
As a judge?
As a judge.
No. The litigants handle their case. I listen to what they bring out in court. I remember, I go back to being independent, impartial, and fair. It's not my job to defend or to prosecute.
MikeLittleJudge.com. MikeLittleJudge.com. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it. Here's your medal for putting up with me for one full hour.
Thank you.
Please do vote. MikeLittleJudge.com. This is Hot News Talk Radio. Good luck, Mike.
Thank you. Election is on Tuesday.
The most important election this year is not for presidency. It's for criminal court judge.
And I'm on the Republican ballot.
Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds.